nobody in the system took that opportunity to grow tennis. Yeah. And then it died a slow death.
You feel that the number of torch bearers or flag bearers in tennis have substantially reduced? Okay, how do I put this? When did you settle into a non-tennis life?
Very tough question to answer. It's so far away from what it should be, so it's kind of disappointing.
Maybe your parents were a little harsh when it came to your training.
I wasn't allowed to stay on and play football with my friends or go to birthday parties.
Hey guys, my name is Jitendra Chouksey and this is yet another episode, and we have a very interesting, very amazing personality with us today in the house, Mr. Mahesh Bhupathi, who needs no introduction, a winner of 12 Grand Slams. He's brought so many accolades to country, not just locally, but internationally. He's played with, different players all over the world, the likes of Roger Federer, Djokovic, and many, many more. Thank you so much for joining us here, sir.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And we have so many fans back in our office. In fact, my co-founder, when I was coming here, he asked me if I could get like a signed tennis ball or something.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How does it feel to reach a stage where you have, and you're almost reaching like 50 years old now?
Not almost, I am 50.
You are 50. How does it feel like having so many accomplishments? And
yeah, tennis has been my life, since I was literally 3 years old. My dad put the racket in my hand at a very young age, and the sport has given me everything I have in life today. So, it's been an incredible journey, lots of ups and downs. I've had a couple of surgeries through my career, but, today when I look back, I think I'm very blessed and also very fortunate to come from a country like India where, it's celebrated.
That's amazing. As a father of two girls, I would want them to do something like I do box, martial art, but it's very hard for me to kind of expect my daughters to get into martial arts no matter how much I want. Did you at any point of time feel that pressure from your dad that you have to be a tennis player, or when did you know that things were getting serious for you?
Very tough question to answer. I mean, I've been asked this many times, right? I think, I'm going to be honest and say I definitely didn't love it when I was very young, because my life
Can you explain that a bit?
Yeah, my life was not like other kids, right? After school, it was straight to the tennis court. I wasn't allowed to stay on and play football with my friends or go to birthday parties and just have a normal childhood. So those were the things that I think at that time, as a kid, you kind of feel like you're missing out on. And like I said, today when I look back, I'm glad I was pushed through that, so that, how the career ended up was something that we're talking about today.
So you actually liked playing football?
No, I just like hanging out with friends, right? I mean, if the friends wanted to stay after school and play football or play cricket or just, hang out, that was never an option for me. I always had to be on the tennis court within 30 minutes because, the days were limited when you're going to school. Time was limited in the day, and, tennis and training had to fit in.
This is very interesting because we live in a world where, you have social norms, and there's, people recognizing that, hey, parents need not be harsh on kids. But at the same time, you're coming from a background where, shall I put it mildly, maybe your parents were a little harsh when it came to your training, and then it ended up pretty well for you.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up pretty well for me, and I'm a believer in that system. Like you said, unfortunately, today's generation is very different. The options they have are very different. The distractions they have are very different. And, I've got a 13-year-old daughter, and I'm going through it myself at a very similar level. And how you manage those, because, playing professional sport, is a dream for most people who take up sport at a young age, which, most of the time does not materialize, right? Because it's so difficult. But for me, I'm a big believer in telling parents to put their kid in sport, right? Because it teaches you so many lessons, how to deal with loss, how to win, how to deal with injuries, failure, discipline, structure. There's so many positives, even if they're competing at a junior level and then decide to pursue, engineering or become a doctor. It doesn't matter. I think the lessons from sport live with you across your lifetime.
Very interesting points you made, sir. And then there's a peculiar observation, like even if you look at some of the star-studded athletes that come today, they don't come from well-to-do families. They are probably coming from families where the parents are slightly more stricter, more disciplined. Do you feel that we as a society, the more modern we are becoming, the more casual we are becoming with our kids, or we are just like kind of scared that, hey, if we say something to our kids, they might take it otherwise? Are we becoming more sensitive?
Yeah, I think we're bringing, I mean, I don't know what the right word is, if we're casual or sensitive, but I think, today, when I watch my daughter train on the tennis court, right, I ask myself, right, do I want to see her go through this for 10 years, right? I mean, because it's brutally difficult, it's nothing but pain. Sure, the gratification, if you make it, is incredible, but the odds of making it are so slim that, there is so much disappointment on the way that as parents who have worked hard all our lives to get to where we are today, what we want to do for our kids or give them every luxury or opportunity, the options are there. So do we want to see them suffer as parents? Not necessarily.
And is this something that you can relate with your parents back then?
No, I think my dad, see, I came from a different kind of background, right? My dad was very clear that his firstborn was going to be a tennis player.
Right.
So that was, but I've seen it with Leander's parents who were athletes. Sania's dad, who was a cricketer, who pushed her in tennis. So I've seen it in our generation previously, right? If a parent gets behind the kid and makes sure, I mean, no kid, regardless of how much they love it, wants to get up every day and get on the track or the football pitch or the tennis court. That's not possible. But then that's when the parent comes in and makes sure they put in the work on the days they don't feel like, and that's the difference, right?
Because on an average, it would take what, roughly 10 to 15 years of toil to make it even to, like,
Yeah,
at this level.
15 years is a minimum, I would say.
15 years is the minimum, right? So and the average age of champions, I mean, when they start off would be like 24, 25. So you must be starting like at 5 or 6.
Yeah. I mean, with tennis especially, you got to start young. You got to mature by the time you're 18, 19 on, where your level's at least when it comes to tennis intelligence. And then, the next 3-4 years, you break through and hopefully become as successful as you can.
I was saving some questions for the end, but I want to ask that question. Do you see some emerging tennis players in India right now who can carry forward your legacy?
There is a very exciting girl, 15-year-old girl called Maya, who's, been making a lot of waves in the last 4 or 5 months. She's got the tools, she's got the desire. Everyone's excited about her. They're talking about her. She's going to train at Nadal's academy for a year now, next month. So, we're all keeping our fingers crossed. I'm a believer that, China's won Grand Slam titles, Japan's won Grand Slam titles. There's no reason that we should not have a Grand Slam singles champion from our country.
Oh.
But for that, there needs to be a lot done.
What about guys? Any guys?
Guys at the top in the elite level, unfortunately, nothing that we see. I mean, Sumit is flying the flag. Sumit Nagal is flying the flag for the last few years. He's in the top 100. But, when it comes to wanting to win Grand Slams, I don't think we see that yet.
And I'm sure you would have your reasons to believe why the state of tennis is not progressing. Like, because when you guys were playing, it was every other title was coming to India. When you and Leander Pace were playing, it was so nice, having global recognition in tennis, even if we were not having global recognition in other sports at the time. But you feel that the number of torch bearers or flag bearers in tennis have substantially reduced?
I think in general sport, we don't have a system in sport in our country, right? We got to leave cricket aside because cricket is run privately with the BCCI and they run it like an enterprise and they do an amazing job. That's why we got this incredible depth in cricket. But across other sports, we don't have that system. And that's why, we go to the Olympics every 4 years. We come back disappointed every 4 years. People in the media talk for the first 2-3 months, nothing's done, and it's going to be the same cycle. A lot of corporates are trying to, do their bit, but, the size of country we are, we need a concerted effort and concerted amount of capital if we want to become a sports dominating nation. And that's, I dream about seeing that in my lifetime.
That's amazing. Imagine if you were to be made in charge of fixing things from the ground level up. What are some of the things, maybe like top 1, top 2, top 3, that
Look,
you
I
did?
think we've got people who've achieved very high levels of success in every sport, right? Be it Gopi in badminton, or Abhinav in shooting, or Sania in tennis, and so on and so forth. I think what we need is backing from a capital perspective. Building a champion costs money. Today it is scientific, right?
Right.
They play the sport, how they recover, how they train, how they eat. It's all a process, and you got to play the game with hundreds of thousands of kids. Then you're going to build one champion,
Right.
and that's not being done.
It's basically odds. The
Yeah.
more people play, the harder they play, and then you'll have one of the champions coming
Correct.
out. But today we don't have.
We don't have the system.
Yeah. Right. So nurture the talent, put capital in it. But one of the problems that we often face with this system, and again, it's not nobody's fault. It's just that unless until you have a viewership, the sports does not make money. For example, in cricket, because everybody makes money, you have like tons of sponsors, and BCCI today is like a billions of dollars worth of company, and they sell their rights worth billions of dollars because people are willing to watch. So you have commercial sponsors. Such is not seen in other sports. So how do we address that problem?
No, it comes with success, right? I mean, till India won the World Cup in 1983, cricket wasn't as on its way to becoming as big as it is today, right? I mean, look at athletics today. Neeraj Chopra, every time he picks up a javelin anywhere in the world, everyone's
People will
watching,
watch,
right?
yes.
If Sindhu is playing badminton, everyone's watching. So the question is, when we were successful or Sania was successful, nobody in the system took that opportunity to grow tennis.
Yeah.
And then it died a slow death. Like we're talking about one girl today in the whole system. So yeah, I mean, there has to be a system. There have to be people who are building players. There have to be people who are using players' success to, build the sport. But yeah, it's so far away from what it should be. So it's kind of disappointing.
All right. Okay. Let's go back to your personal journey. You said your early years were slightly difficult because of, you wanted to hang out with friends, but you didn't have that luxury. And eventually you fell in love with the sport. When was the first time you won? And then you realized, okay, I'm really good at this, and maybe I ought to become a Grand Slam champion someday. When did you realize this?
I wasn't a very good junior, right?
Okay. And just to be clear, juniors are
under 18.
Under 18, yes.
Yeah. So I wasn't a very good junior. So I kind of used my tennis to take a tennis scholarship in the US. Also, my dad used to live in the Middle East, right? He had a job in the Gulf. So the reason I was only training with him all day, every day, full time, there were no other kids at my level. So the thing is, when I went to college, all of a sudden there were 8 kids on the same team, on my team, who were fighting to play on the team. And there was a lot of practice, a lot of competition. And my 1 year in college of that intense competition and practice took me to a different level in my tennis. And that's when I started winning matches that I didn't think I could win. Winning Grand Slams, I mean, of course, when you're running on a treadmill and you're a kid, you're dreaming about, standing and holding that trophy. But those are dreams that everybody sees. But, how that became a reality between 95 and 99 was pretty quick and pretty surreal.
But any memorable moments from your time in the US where you went through some setbacks and you're like, nahi, ab to karna hai?
No, luckily for me, like I said, once I got, into that practice and competition mode with other kids, which I never had till I was 18, 19, things really just went into a different direction with me, because all of a sudden I was getting quality competition on a daily basis, which I didn't have.
Is that also because first you were in India and then you went to US, and that's when the entire thing changed?
Yeah. So that's, I guess for me, that was the trigger. Everyone has their own trigger, I guess, in their journey. But for me, that was the trigger. And, I started improving very quickly.
And did you have like a US-based coach or?
Well, every college has their coach.
Right.
So, and we had a team coach. So
right.
I wasn't his priority. Winning the title for the college was his priority. But again, he was very supportive of me and saw that I was improving. He allowed me a little flexibility to go and play tournaments around the college as well, which made a difference.
Okay. So you were in India, then you were not good in juniors, then you went to the US, and then you realized that you were getting good competition, you were getting good practice, and you started winning. When was your first title, like a big title match which got you accolade? It's in 1995?
1997, I think we
1997.
won the French Open mixed doubles.
Right. And that was with
Rika Hiraki from
Rika
Japan.
Iraqi.
Yeah.
Okay. And when did Leander Pace happen?
No, Leander and me started playing in 94 September, I think.
Okay.
And then we won, obviously, we won a lot, 94, 95. We started, going up the ranks very quickly. 98, 99 were probably...
I want to go more into the details. How did this happen? Like, how did you meet him? When did you guys decide that it's two of you? And because you guys played for quite a long time.
When did I meet him for the first time? I think, the first time we actually started playing together was at the practice at the Davis Cup match when we played South Africa in Jaipur.
Right. And this is which year?
94 maybe.
94.
Yeah. And we didn't end up playing that match, but we were practicing a lot. Then in 95 in Indonesia, in I think October 95 was the first time we played together in a challenger in Indonesia.
Right.
So I was in college then, so we played one challenger in Indonesia. Then in 96 we played one challenger in Aruba, and we didn't lose. Right, we won both. Or I think in the final of the Indonesian we didn't play because he was sick. So then it became obvious that we should keep trying to play. He was already full-time on tour. I was coming out of college, and we clicked very quickly.
Right. There was a time, and obviously I was pretty small during that time, but the headlines used to be, Mahesh Bhupathi and, conquering the whole world and winning 12 Grand Slams over a period of time. Like, it was just you and Leander Pace. And that was probably the peak of tennis that India had seen. I mean, since then, I don't think we've seen the kind of accolades that was there during your time. How did that peak period affected you? Because we've seen that players go from their different highs to lows and to highs. It's not just physical. It's a lot more here. What happens?
So for us, tennis is a very different schedule, right? It's 40 weeks a year. At that time, there were no cell phones, by the way. There was no internet kind of Instagram, Twitter. So the media distractions were not kind of coming in play, right? At best, media used to call your hotel phone and ask you a few questions. So, we won the French Open, 2 days later, we were playing a tournament in Queens. So we were not like celebrating or coming to meet the Prime Minister or anything. We were just, it was part of our routine.
Right.
Yeah. So, tennis was the be all and end all, and we were just enjoying the success.
Right. It's amazing. Imagine if social media was there, then it would have been so much more different.
The distractions would have been different.
Right. So, but in general, you would have won some matches, but there must be some setbacks that you would have faced. How did you deal with those setbacks? What was the mental framework? Because a lot of people, when they are on their journey to become, let's say, players, and sometimes, especially when they're young guys, right, they don't understand the kind of mental framework it requires. So would you like to share some insights on
that? I think in this generation, people overcomplicate the mental framework part of it, right? As an athlete, what can you do? You can train to the best of your ability. And when you're competing, you can try your hardest.
Right.
There's nothing more you can do than that, right? Everything else is not in your control, right? You control what you can do. And as long as you're giving your best effort and best energy, can you win? Yes. If you win, you celebrate. If you lose, you learn from why you lost and you try and get better next day in practice, right? So today, they try to evaluate, they try to analyze, they try to talk about mental health. I'm like, man, as long as the kid is trying their best and giving their energy and effort, then what else are you going to get out of this kid? Nothing, right?
Right.
And they have to learn to win. They have to learn to lose most of the time. Every Grand Slam, there's 127 losers and there's one winner.
True.
So 127 of them are going home a loser with a nice paycheck.
Yeah.
So if you don't learn how to lose, then you're never going to become a top athlete.
Right. The reason I'm asking this is because today social media has amplified the voices so much, and I would say noises so much, because if you lose a game, tomorrow people are going to come to your home and they're going to ask you how much money government has spent on your sports and why didn't you win?
Yeah.
They literally come to your home.
I think that's just today. The unfortunate part of the media channels that are out there today, and the fact that we allow that to happen, right? cricketers lose, they lose in the first round of the World Cup, they're throwing stones at their
Yes.
house, or they're burning effigies outside their house. And, it's part and parcel of living as a successful sports person. And I think, you embrace the good with the bad, and that's part of what I think drives you as well.
Yeah, because you must have seen like the athlete Vinesh Fogart when she went to the US, went for the
Olympics.
Paris Olympics, and she missed her weight because of something, but she made it to semifinals. And when she came home, you had like the whole country divided into two, where some were applauding her efforts to make it into the finals, while the other were like, why couldn't she lose the weight? She lost yet another important match. Why couldn't she bring silver medal or gold medal? Right. So these kind of things, I believe that they kind of weigh heavy on the conscience of the players also and can demoralize them.
I mean, to be honest, most athletes I know, they don't follow this stuff, right? Because if somebody else could bring a bronze or gold, they should have gone and done it.
Right.
They didn't. It's very easy to sit behind the wall of an Instagram and start talking.
Yeah.
I mean, those are losers / cowards. I mean, pundits or whatever you want to call them, right? If they were good enough to do it, they should have been doing it themselves.
Yeah, true.
So I think most of the athletes learn how to shut this out, right? Just like you shut out a big crowd in the arena and try and focus on delivering what you're there to do. So, while it stings at times, I think, but, you got to continue with the job.
Right. This is something which I was also speaking to Rohit, and he mentioned the same thing, that when you are going out there and performing, initially it hurts, but over a period of time, just learn to shut down the voices. Yeah. You just have to focus on the game.
There's no option.
Great. Moving on. So you went to the US, you started performing well, then you met Leanne Pace, and you won your grand titles. And after that, what happened? When did you settle into okay, how do I put this? When did you settle into a non-tennis life?
Last competitive match I played was 2016.
Right.
So it's been close to a decade now.
Yes.
Non-tennis life is a good way to put it, because when you're growing up, tennis has been pretty much whole and soul of what I was doing. So it took a little time to get used to not being on the road 35-40 weeks a year, but it looks like there's some stability now in the travel schedule.
How does the world change? How does the world change for you? Like, being on the road for so long, it's almost like a part of your life for 30 years.
Yeah, world doesn't change. It is a totally different world, right? So, you can't talk to it like it's changed, because, that's the world that I lived for 25 years was being on the road 40 weeks a year, hotel rooms 40 weeks a year. And then, when you retire, you're sitting at home, scratching your head. But it's a totally different world. But then, you settle down, family, I've got a daughter now, priorities change, opportunities change. And it's I'm not complaining. It's tennis is still a big part of why I do everything, and why everything around me still, people are still excited to kind of interact or talk to me. So I'm very thankful.
This is so amazing to hear, but at the same time, I could sense some pain in your voice when you said the world is not the same. It's not changed. It's a completely different world.
No, you miss the competition, right? I mean, today, if you ask me, I still miss the competition. At the big tournaments, like the Australian Open or Wimbledon, because those are my favorite events. But again, I mean, physically, I'm not missing it at all, right? I don't miss the hours in the gym, or the hours on the massage table, or getting the dry needling or the ice baths. I mean, that part of it, is fun while it's lasting, but it's nothing I'm missing.
What about injuries? Did you get active injuries when you were on the field, and how did you deal with them?
Yeah, I had surgery on my shoulder and my back during my career, but luckily I had great rehab, and I was able to bounce back and play high quality tennis again. But that's part and parcel of being a professional athlete. I don't think our bodies are built to put it through the rigors that we do when we are kids.
Right.
And if you're not doing it right, like today, trainers and physios and strength conditioning training is a different level than it was 25-30 years ago.
Right.
And it will continue to evolve. So, injuries are going to be part and parcel.
There is a common misconception and I would love for you to clarify this. A lot of people think that getting good at sport primarily means just getting good at sport, but they completely ignore other aspects of sports, which is your strength and conditioning, your resistance training, recovery, rehab, then your nutrition. All of these things are completely ignored because in India, if you see, we have a lot of talented people, but these talented people, they come to elementary level, and then when they meet, let's say, their international competitors, they don't have the same edge. Is that something you want to?
Yeah, I think that comes down to, honestly, and I've said this for 20 years, it comes down to the diet that we have in our country, right? There is zero shortage of talent in our country. The numbers just give us a better chance of delivering success. But, the diet that we have in all our homes, wherever it is, north, south, east, west, is not conducive to being a competitive athlete, right?
Can you elaborate that a bit?
I mean, eating curries or heavy, parathas and biryani versus, in the West, these guys are eating, grilled chicken with vegetables or pastas. How do you compete, right? You compete when you're at an even playing field.
Yeah.
And things are changing, but, they're changing a little too slow for our liking. But the diet is a big part of, I think, why we're not able to get the results we want.
Right. What would you say, tell the athletes to change in their diet primarily? I know, like, us Indians, we consume very little amount of protein. Our diets are fat and carb heavy. Yeah. But, want to hear from you.
Yeah, well, first things first, you cut out the fat, right? Because, it doesn't matter. People say, oh, bacha gym gaya hai, so he can have some fat. Absolutely not, right? Because that's nullifying the work that he's done.
Right.
So yeah, protein is a no-brainer. We need large amounts of protein in our diet. We need large amounts of carbs in our diet because it's, we're constantly burning fuel, especially if you're training twice a day.
Right.
And we need to stay disciplined, and I think consistency, right? Just even in my opinion, if you're eating well 5 days a week, and then you say I'm going to have a bad weekend, it kills you. You just start badly on Monday again when it comes time to train again.
Sure. Since we are on the subject of diet, I must ask, what was your diet like when you were playing? And were you a vegetarian or
No, I was not. I'm not a vegetarian.
Okay.
I ate a lot of chicken. I ate a lot of pasta. My mom used to force feed me a lot of salad. So yeah, I mean, they made a concerted effort to put that nutrition that they thought, competitive athlete needed into me, which kind of definitely helped me along in my journey, which I think a lot of households are missing today.
Right. No, I mean, I can say this. I'm sitting right next to you, and I can tell you that at 50, you look extremely fit. And I'm assuming that the same diet discipline is still...
No, unfortunately, now it's a lot worse. The discipline has to be even more stringent because, when you're not playing or you're not training 4-5 hours a day, yeah, it's painful.
You're eating more but burning less.
Yeah, so now I'm trying the opposite.
Amazing. And what's your diet now? And are you still non-vegetarian?
I am, but I try to keep carbs out of the picture as much as possible. Keep sugar as much. I have a big problem with sugar. I could eat boxes of chocolates in one sitting. So I try to keep away from that, and just a lot of protein and vegetables, to be honest.
Right. And how's your workout now?
Workout 1 hour a day, just kind of, making sure that the metabolism kicks off in the morning. And, I've got, thanks to the wear and tear, I've got enough aches and pains across my different parts of my body that I don't want to, suffer too much. But, I'm starting to play a little recreational sport, which I never thought I would, which, let's see how it goes.
Which sport is it?
I played paddle a couple of times. I played pickleball a couple of times. Everyone's talking about these two sports. So I kind of experimented in the last 6 months. Let's see. Recreationally, it's fun because, having done racket sports, I'm able to already compete or be competitive. So,
Are we seeing a professional player?
Absolutely not. I don't have any cartilage left in my knee, so that's not going to happen.
But tell me honestly, what's your opinion on paddle and what's the other one? Pickleball.
Yeah.
And how do they compare to tennis? I'm sure you must be really good at both of them because tennis is like the big daddy of these sports.
Yeah, I can play them both. I think paddle is a hybrid between tennis and squash. And I think they have a full-fledged professional tour, and they're even thinking about putting it in the LA Olympics. So pickleball, I think, is growing incredibly, but I think it's a participation sport. Anybody can pick up a pickleball paddle today and enjoy with their family members or friends, and I think that's why it's caught on like a craze both in the US and India now.
Isn't it surprising how fast it's growing? Like, it's so crazy how fast pickleball has picked up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's because it's not that expensive to put a court down. People are renting out the court. Anywhere in Bandra you go, it's very difficult to get a court. So people are enjoying and having an opportunity to play sport, right? I mean, otherwise you got to be a member of a club, and you got to go book a tennis court or book a badminton court. Here, there are pickleball courts in colleges that are renting it out, or sheds. People have got a shed and put 6 pickleball courts in there. So I think people are just enjoying that opportunity to play sport now.
Nice. And we'd love to see you play pickleball
Okay, if you say so.
paddle, maybe on live television. It'll be like a different experience watching you, shift into sports. But sir, tell me something. You've been, into tennis for so long, and now obviously you're living your non-tennis life. But is it really non-tennis life, or are you still active in, tennis in some way or the other, like as a mentor or an entrepreneur in tennis?
Yeah, I think it'll never be a non-tennis life for me, right? I think, whether it was being Davis Cup captain, being involved with Sumit's career, or, multiple other things that keep coming along my way, I'm sure I'll always be involved, and I enjoy being involved because I feel like I've done it twice or 3 times in my lifetime, and I have enough gyan to give anybody who wants to hear me.
That's amazing. Any young talents that you're personally nurturing? Apart from Sumit, you mentioned.
Not right now. Still waiting to see if I can get my eye on someone.
And what about your entrepreneurial ventures? Are you looking into something?
Yeah, I think, see, for me at this stage, opportunities come in a lot, doing interesting stuff in sport and seeing how that goes. I recently invested in a protein product called Tempeh.
Oh, interesting.
Which a friend of mine owns and started 3-4 years ago. So I think he's creating a category, creating a market in the world. So, excited to see how these things pan out.
Do you also consume tempeh?
I did start 2-3 years ago because, he kept talking about it. So I wanted to see how it tasted. Then it's amazing because tempeh you can kind of mix in with any kind of cuisine or any kind of flavor that you like at home. So, he made me like a Thai green curry with tempeh. He made me kebabs with tempeh. He made me tempeh tikka masala. So I was very confused and intrigued. And then I've seen this growth over the last 2-3 years. And finally I said, fine, let me also jump on board.
Yeah, that's interesting because in India, it can be one of a good protein options because, a lot of people in India are vegetarians and sometimes tofu, tempeh. So is actually, these are pretty good sources of protein also, so what we were discussing earlier.
Yeah. So that's why I think, like I said, I think tempeh is creating a category, right? I mean, the hundreds of millions of vegetarians in our country, and tempeh becomes, in my opinion, the best source of protein now, right? It's way ahead of tofu, it's way ahead of soy, way ahead of paneer. And, tempeh will, the biggest challenge they have now is educating the consumer, which takes time. But, the way they're growing, I think they're doing a good job.
Apart from tempeh, are there any other products or companies you're involved with?
Not at that scale, but, I have a couple of small investments. I have a small equity play in Healthify Me also.
Nice.
And I have a small piece of equity in Club. So, but again, I'm not very involved. I'm open to looking at opportunities because I feel like, India's growth story is still on its way up.
Are you betting on Indian entrepreneurs?
I mean, you look at all the big CEOs.
In the AI space?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anything when it comes to tech, if you look across the world or banking, it's the Indians that are owning, or the CEOs at the top, right? Yeah. And you're going to bet that AI is going to finish the same. So I have no doubt it's going to happen.
So thank you so much for sharing, these amazing things, sir. We are towards the last segment of the podcast, and I must ask you, what are some of your best memories, the fondest memories in and out of tennis courts?
I think the favorite one would be winning Wimbledon in '99, the doubles. And that's special because Wimbledon obviously holds a special place in every tennis player's hearts, more so in every Indian sports fan's heart, because it's something that's followed very closely here. So that would definitely be the favorite.
Right. And did you get an opportunity? Like, did the Prime Minister call you directly when you won
Yes,
Wimbledon?
I think that definitely happened. I think we met the Prime Minister at that time as well, President. I think we did the whole rounds after that, yeah.
How did it feel?
Actually, to be honest, as an athlete, these things are more exciting for the family and friends than the athletes, because we are kind of, tuned into playing the sport. And my parents were very excited. I can say that.
Did your dad finally tell you, see, I've made the right decision for you?
He told me long before that. So,
Right.
yeah.
And what did you say to that?
I agreed with him. Like I said, even today, I'm glad they pushed me through that threshold. And, where, like a lot of kids quit, between 13 and 15 because it gets too hard.
Yeah.
And that's the time that they pushed me through. And I'm very grateful for that.
Nice. And how's your father's equation with your daughter? Is he trying to coax her into tennis?
He's surprisingly not. I was the one who was putting her under. Dad's like, let her have fun. I guess, his job was his firstborn, which I think he succeeded. So he wants to, make sure his granddaughter is happy.
This is very peculiar. All of our parents are so tough on us and they're so soft on our kids.
Yeah.
It's like completely different.
And they feel like that's our job, not theirs.
Yeah. No, but they wouldn't let you or me do our jobs also, because if we are tough on our kids, they'd be like, why are you so tough on your kids?
Yeah.
So interesting, like seeing them flip completely. So interesting. So thank you so much. I have we have rapid fire questions,
Okay.
if you wouldn't mind. Okay, so this is a very interesting part. So what's one quote that you live by?
I mean, there's no shortcut to success.
A must-have item that you always keep in your gym bag.
In my gym bag, my gym bag was always a deodorant. At that time, there were no phones, by the way. So it was always a deodorant.
Nice. What's your favorite cheat meal? I think I know the partial answer to that, since we have.
I got multiple answers to this, but if someone asks me what my favorite food is, it's always been South Indian. I'd start with vadas and then go to a dosa. But,
Not chocolates, I'm surprised.
I mean, chocolates is not a cheat meal. I thought chocolates is dessert.
Yeah. Right. So they are, by de facto, they are. Okay. Got it. So South Indian dosa and chocolates after. Got it. A person you'd love to play tennis with, like historically or even in future? It could be non-tennis person also.
Yeah. Person I'd like to play tennis with. I mean, I've played with everyone, honestly. I mean, from McEnroe to Becker to...
No, it could be someone who's from non-tennis background also.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play with anyone who can't play tennis, to be honest, because that wouldn't be fun for them. But let's say Sachin Tendulkar. He plays tennis.
He does.
Yeah.
Well, we hope that he's listening to this podcast and calls you up and like, let's do a weekend. Awesome. So this is all I had. This was such a fantastic discussion. The fact that you won so many accolades for the country and have been so nice and humble and kind to have this discussion with me and enrich all our audience with all of your wisdom. This is so amazing. Thank you so much. But before we leave you, any last message for the youngsters who would want to, who dream to be like you? And this way, when I was coming, like I told you, there's my co-founder. When I told him I was going to meet you, he was so excited. It was crazy. What if there's a message for people like him or youngsters who are getting into tennis, that this is a tough, arduous journey. It takes a lot of time and pain and effort. One message for them to keep going.
I think enduring the pain is the critical part, right? Being able to mentally, physically, and emotionally find ways to endure the pain. Because like I said, quitting is the easy option. And it will always come back to bite you in some form or the other, I feel, later on in life. Because, once you allow yourself to quit at something, it's the easy option when things get tough and life always throws a lot of hurdles along the path. So enduring the pain is what I recommend. It's not easy, but that's what's needed to be done to succeed.
It's amazing. So incredible. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. We have a little gift for you, which we'll share with you the last segment. Where we have. So this is a small gift for you. It's the smart ring that I was talking about. So
nice.
we have got this for your size. I'll just keep it here. That's for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.